Hello everybody, in this video we're going to do a deep dive into the U.S. Senate election in Wisconsin. This is one of the most purple states out there. Democrats looking to prevent an upset here while Republicans are pulling for the opposite. So let's start here on Ballotpedia with some background information. The incumbent senator here is Democrat Tammy Baldwin. She's running for re-election to a third term. Prior to serving in the Senate, she spent 14 years in the U.S. House and her background is in law. In her last win in 2018, she won by almost 11 points, so it wasn't really that competitive. Her opponent on the Republican side is Eric Hovde. Hovde has not held any notable political office. His background is in banking, and he previously ran for this same U.S. Senate seat back in 2012 when Tammy Baldwin won her first election, but Hovde came in second place in that crowded GOP primary. In addition to the two major party candidates, there's also a couple of third-party candidates on the ballot. Now let's go down here and see how they did in their primaries. Well, for Tammy Baldwin, not a surprise that the incumbent ran unopposed. For Eric Hovde, he surprisingly only had minimal opposition. He got 86% of the vote, and going back to late last year, Republicans had hopes they were going to get a top-tier candidate in this race, likely somebody that currently held elected office, but none of that seemed to happen, and in the end it looked like everybody kind of coalesced around Hovde. Now if you're interested in taking a look at raw primary numbers, the Democrats got 640,000, Republicans 551,000. I don't think there's much benefit to doing that at all, but if you do, Baldwin comes out ahead. Now let's go down here and see how this race is rated. Cook Political Report has this race at a toss-up. Decision Desk and Larry Sabato have it at lean Democrat. Inside Elections has it at tilt Democrat. My own rating at the beginning of the month was lean Democrat, and you can see how Cook used to have it at lean Dem, but they have since moved it into toss-up territory. My own quick take on this race at the beginning of the year is I did not think Hovde was really that strong of a candidate. He already ran 12 years ago, and there were other names Republicans were hoping for before Hovde, so it almost seemed like they couldn't get anybody top tier, so they went for Hovde. Now so far Hovde has not proven to be somebody that Baldwin is just going to walk all over. We'll get to the polling in a little bit, but this might be the most purple state in the country. Given they've elected Democrats and Republicans statewide in the exact same election back in 2022, there's no guarantees here for Baldwin, but one of the main criticisms from the Baldwin side is that Hovde's connection to Wisconsin is questionable. It does look like he was born and went to school here, but he has had to defend himself from some ties he might have to a state like California. So is that going to matter in the end? Maybe a little bit, but this is also a presidential year with higher turnout, and with polling for president underestimating Trump at the top of the ticket in the past two presidential elections, Hovde is hoping that there's a surge of support for Trump, and that's going to be enough to drag him over the line. But Baldwin's been in there for 2 terms. I think enough voters know who she is, and for what it's worth, they probably trust her enough. So down here we've got the campaign financing, and this is updated through the third quarter, and Baldwin has raised a ton, but Hovde, who is actually very wealthy himself, he's able to self-fund a lot of his campaign. Now the issue of his wealth might be another line of attack from the Baldwin campaign. If it looks like he's too out of touch or he's trying to buy a Senate seat, that could be another vulnerability for Hovde. Now let's take a look at how some of these counties have trended on a presidential level. So as I just said, the turnout here is going to be high. This is one of the key Rust Belt states that has underestimated Trump in the polling, but there's going to be 2 main counties that Democrats have a ton of vote in. One of them is obviously going to be Milwaukee County. In 2020, Biden did better than both Hillary in 16 and Obama in 12. Trump's level of support was between what he got in 16 and what Romney got in 12. So there's a lot of people in this county, every percentage point can matter. Now the other bastion of blue vote is Dane County, that has the capital, Madison. And look at Biden's support last time. He took it up 5 points over Hillary in 16. Meanwhile, Trump was completely flat at only about 23%, and that's down from 4.5 from what Romney got in 12. So these are the 2 most notable counties for the Dems. Now back in the eastern part of the state, the Republican counties that surround Milwaukee, 3 of them are known as the WOW counties, and that's where heavy suburban vote is. And in this state, the suburban vote is actually still overwhelmingly red, but there is some caution here for someone like Trump. The first one here is going to be Waukesha. Last time, Biden's support went up 5 points again over Hillary in 16. Meanwhile, Trump's support fell 0.4%. It's clearly down from Romney getting 67 back in 12. The second of the WOW counties, the O, is going to be Ozaukee to the north. That county also clearly has Biden doing better than both Hillary and Obama. Meanwhile, Trump's trajectory here has been on the decline. He's ticked down 0.5 point from his first run in 16. And then the other W county in between is Washington. This county has not seen as much of a blue shift as the other 2. In 16, Trump won it by a massive 40 points. Last time, it's gotten a little bit more narrow, but it's down to just about 38. So those are key counties where Democrats are hoping to move voters in their direction. Republicans cannot afford to lose too much vote here. A couple other counties in the southeast are Racine and Kenosha. Both of those counties were won by Trump last time by about 3 points. And those are also counties that Obama won back in 12. So in the last this decade, there's been a lot of movement here toward the right. Republicans hoping to expand those margins, Democrats hoping to slow it down or reverse it. Now, there's a lot of other counties on here, and we don't have time to take a look at all of them, but a key region in this state is going to be in the west and the southwest. This is usually referred to as the driftless area, and you can see on this map, a lot of these counties are colored light red. That's not the margin, but those indicate that they were won by Obama in 2012, but then since then, Trump won them 2 times. Now, a lot of these don't have a ton of population, but if you add them up in a close race, it's going to matter. And you can see some of the margins in these. Obama winning some of them by double digits, and then they went right off a cliff where some of them Trump is winning by double digits himself. So this is a key part of the state. Some of these counties are still light red or light blue. It's clear with a large shift in a short amount of time that the Trump brand has actually proven effective here. So it is possible that there could be some more vote for Trump to squeeze out in a bunch of these counties. That could help someone like Eric Hovde running for Senate. If for Tammy Baldwin, she's hoping to convince enough of these voters that the Trump brand just was not working. So there's obviously other counties on here, but let's move on to Tammy Baldwin's last win in 2018. Now, that was a blue wave type of national environment. Republicans got wiped out. Democrats did well in most places. And in this one, Tammy Baldwin made it look easy. She won by 11 points. How did she do it? Well, those blue counties are just a little bit bluer, and the red counties in the driftless area, most of those are actually blue this time. So there's been a lot of crossover vote here for someone like Trump and for someone like Baldwin. 2 politicians you would think would have very little in common, but in this region and in this part of the state, it's clear that these voters have been motivated by different types of candidates. Now, if you go to Dane County, last time Biden was over 75, Trump was at 30. And you can see Tammy Baldwin clearly outperformed Biden by a couple of points, and Trump also did significantly better than the Republican candidate. In Milwaukee County, Biden was at 69, Trump was at 29. This margin was much closer to that presidential margin. Baldwin here only outperforming Biden by a couple of points, and Trump doing better by less than 1 point. The 2 counties in the southeast, Racine and Kenosha, those are both blue in this race. Baldwin easily carrying those counties, especially Kenosha. But in one of the WOW counties, Waukesha, here Tammy Baldwin actually ran behind Joe Biden. It's not by much, but these suburban voters, they're much more classically establishment Republican. These are voters that have generally moved away from the Trump brand. So it's clear that different voters are attracted to different candidates, and different parts of the state have moved in different directions. Now, the other thing about this state is their other U.S. Senator, Ron Johnson, was reelected in the recent midterms. It was very close. He won by 1 point, and that was also after the Supreme Court abortion decision. But you can see comparing this map, many more of these counties, especially in the driftless area, have become red. And in the southeast, Johnson carried both Racine and Kenosha counties. And even up here in Brown County, which has Green Bay, that's one that Trump won, as well as Tammy Baldwin. But in this, Johnson carried it by 10 points. So Hovde is going to have to get close to these margins if he actually wants to take down Baldwin. If he was able to do it, I would guess it would be by a narrow margin such as this. Now let's take a glance at their official campaign websites. Here it is for the incumbent, Tammy Baldwin, if you want to hear more about her. See what she's doing in her campaign, take a look at her store, or contribute to her candidacy. And here it is for Eric Hovde. And this is another one where you have to click here in the top right. That'll let you navigate around his site if you want to read more about him, see what he's up to, or donate to his campaign. Now, what about debates? Well, we had just one debate. Here it is right here, and all these links will be down below in the description. It was great to see that they actually had a debate. I did watch it, and it had a lot of the usual attacks you'd expect. Hovde goes after Baldwin for being out of touch. Baldwin goes after Hovde for his connections to the state. The usual issues like immigration are going to favor Hovde. Abortion is going to favor Baldwin. So who knows if this one actually moved any voters. Now let's take a look at the current polling. Right now, the average of all the aggregates has Tammy Baldwin ahead by 3.4, and she's hitting just over 49%. Hovde is at 46. And in all the individual polls, Baldwin is ahead in every one. And some of these Baldwin does clear 50%, but the most recent ones, she's at the about 49 to 50% range. Eric Hovde is hovering around the mid-40s. Now for comparison, let's see how accurate the polls were back in 2018. So again, Baldwin won this by almost 11. She was at about 55%. The polling wasn't too bad in this one, considering it was not highly competitive. It seems like they were fairly close on both sides. Some of these were off by maybe a couple of points, but nothing too terrible considering some of the other polling we've seen, especially in this state. Finally, let's get on Polymarket and see where people are putting their money. So right now, Tammy Baldwin, the Democrat, is at 70%. Eric Hovde, the Republican, is at 31. And over the past few days, the race has tightened up a little bit, but it's still clearly an advantage for Baldwin. So what is the conclusion here for Wisconsin Senate? Well, given the state is expected to be highly competitive at the top of the ticket for president, the question is how much crossover vote is there going to be? It looks like Baldwin is going to run ahead of Harris. It doesn't seem like she's going to get it up to double digits like she did last time, and I think she is the clear favorite, but the polling has gotten tighter here in the home stretch. Trump and Hovde have to be cautious about the suburbs. Baldwin is really looking to run it up in Milwaukee and Dane counties, but if there's some sort of a hidden Trump vote out there in the Driftless area, if blue-collar workers come out in higher rates, that is going to be something that's going to help out Hovde. Would it be enough to put him over the top? I wouldn't think so, but stranger things have happened. In another Senate election in 2016, in that one, it looked like Democrat former Senator Russ Feingold was going to defeat Ron Johnson. It looked like that in the polling, and I was also expecting Johnson to go down, but in the end, the polls were off. There was a surge of Republican support, and Johnson held the seat. But we'll see what happens, so let me know in the comments. What do you think about this U.S. Senate race in Wisconsin? Do you think Hovde is a weak candidate and Baldwin is going to win no matter what? Or do you think there's more to it with Hovde and Trump at the top of the ticket and he's going to have some understated level of support? Let me know down below on your way out. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Join if you'd like to support the channel. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.